Traders, how you doing? Tom Willard with Tom Willard Trading. It is November 25th. It's been good lord, about almost 4.5 to 5, almost 5 months since I last posted a video. And I gotta like my handiwork, man. You guys haven't checked out that video I posted on July 8th. Go check it. There are numerous very profitable ideas I shared there, and I'm gonna kind of run through them because there's a great lesson in these. Also, some that didn't work out, and how the stops really would have saved your rear end. So let's talk about the market first, and then we'll move on. Q's rolling. Here we go higher. So last time I made a video was July 8th, so it was right around here. We were trying to top out. Volume was high, gave me some concerns. I talked about actually in the video how I had some put options, and I was looking for if the market would break 136. And again, I talked about it in the video. It was right around here was when I made the video. I said if it can break through this head and shoulders type setup beneath the shoulders and actually trigger, I think easily this thing could have come down to 130. However, look what it did. It did not break that point, right? So if you got short like I did, either your options, if they're short term, they expired, or you went up here and took your stop as it went above this right shoulder, you could get out of your stop here. Let me shrink this back down to where it was. Hold on a second here. And then you'll see how it played out. So we went up and higher and higher and higher. And actually, if you just want to blow up to the higher time frame here, the weekly, which is on the right, here's July 8th. Okay, it went higher. So no harm, no foul. Take your stop, get out of Dodge, take your loss, your pre-established loss amount, and you're done. And notice it came up here, it based out, made a higher low, another higher low, kind of rode this rising moving average here, right? Couldn't really break beneath it on the weekly chart, and now we're up higher. We're up here multiple weeks in a row, cruising on the Qs. SPYs, I talked about that as well in that video. And again, I urge you to go back and watch that video if you haven't yet, or to refresh your memory about these silly good ideas that I was sharing. SPYs, July 8th, right around here, I talked about it. Break point, I talked about it having to go into this 240 area. It never did. Continue to go up. We're at highs. Highs here on the SPYs, high here on the Qs. Okay, we're high. We're, as I mentioned multiple videos ago, continue to play the trend long. You can definitely take shots to the short side, but have stops. On the long side, have stops as well. Always have stops, because at some point we're going to get a more significant correction. And if you're sitting there holding the bag, it's not fun. Take your stops, and if you can always get back in. What's the commission cost nowadays? 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 bucks tops. So just get in, get out. You know, take your shots to the long side. That's where the trend is. That's where the power is in general. I have a lot more long ideas, things I'm riding on the long side than I do on a short side. And I continue to play it that way until the market tells me differently. And right now, the market continues to be strong. Now, we're a little bit extended up here on the SPYs and the Qs, but nonetheless, just play those stocks to the long side. Have your stops. Establish your reward to risk. It's huge. I talked about the low risk trades in the last video, and I'm going to continue to pound the table with that. Find, reward to risk sized at least 3 to 1. 3 times reward for the risk. And we're actually going to get into some of that right now. So first, let's talk about some of the ideas I shared. First one up is the home builders. I talked about PHM. July 8th, I talked about the breakout here. See, we'll just look on the weekly chart because it's been the daily chart, again, doesn't go back here. It's much more simpler. The weekly chart here, you can see the pullback. You got a mini cup with handle. I said buy the breakout. It broke, and look at this run. Pretty much from 25.50 to 33.15 here, straight run up. Time to take some profits if you haven't already. Okay, hold some. I usually don't sell on strength like this. These things can keep going, but I take 50 to 75% of my shares off the table on an extended run, especially if it gets Climo, and take those profits. And then as it pulls back toward the moving averages, you can look to buy those shares back at a cheaper price. All things considered, and the market's going higher. DHI, another one I own. Right? Beautiful. Talked about it here in July. Base. The breakout here. Boom. Broke out, then it stalled for a couple months, and then all of a sudden, off to the races. How's a $35 entry, and now we're sitting at $50 a share? Hope you guys got that with me. Beautiful here. I talked about Toll Brothers. I did not own Toll, and I still didn't buy it through all this. It's also running like crazy to the upside. So anyway, congrats on you guys that got a piece of that action with me. Now, the other one I talked about was IGT. Right here, July 8th, I talked about buying it. It was a low-risk trade. The whole purpose behind my video was low-risk trades. I said low-risk trade is against the trend, but I like this as a long. It looked like it had drained out. I like the gaming stocks. They looked higher. Look at this thing. How's getting in at 18.50, $19 a share on the top side at the most, and the thing's sitting at 28? You basically made $10 a share on something you bought at $19 a share. Not too shabby if you're still holding it. Okay. Now, as it hit this resistance point here at 28, okay, that's a good time to sell some of your shares if you haven't already. Okay. Some of you may have sold them right in here, but again, this is where I sell right here at 28. Next stop is 32. Obviously, if this thing comes back up, sets up a handle, buy it back in full force right now. Right now, I'm selling into the strength, holding some small shares, waiting for another setup, and if it shows and the market looks perky and wants to go higher, this thing sets up at 32. Boom, this thing could go much higher. But again, right now is not the time to buy. Let it set up. You can see it's actually setting up a flag here, but it is extended off this nice big pop here on volume. And look at the volume dropping off here. It's really looking good. Makes me feel confident about holding some shares, even though I've sold into this strength. Okay, IGT, another one. Again, go back to that video if you haven't watched it. I talk about it specifically in the video. Now, I already talked about the gaming scene. I didn't go through any specifics, but Las Vegas Sands here. Look at this. It's been moving back up. It pulled back here. You got a cup. You've got a declining handle. It's popped up. It's breaking out. Watch this for continuation. Las Vegas Sands, you can watch for continued and another entry to the long side. Wynn Resorts, very strong. Look at the weekly. Really a leader here. In July, when I made the video, it's pulling back. Nice run. So if you took that, looked at these stocks yourself, knew how to do your own technical analysis, there's some good stuff. MGM, a little bit of a different story. It hasn't really gone very far. It popped back up, came down hard, and then turned around, made a little bit of a lower low, and it's gone right back up. So it's trading in a range. Not quite as strong as, say, a Wynn. That's the leader you want to be in, the Wynn, okay, of these three. Now, obviously, there's no entry here now, so don't be buying. I'm not buying it here, okay? But this is a strong one. This is the one you want to look for pullbacks on and setups in the gaming sector. Now let's talk about a few of the ones that didn't work that I talked about. UTX. Okay, I talked about here, watching in July, I said watch for a breakout above this base. Now let me just show you what it looked like before it broke out. Okay, and the stop is right under here, 119.08, so 119ish. Okay, so if you bought the high on the breakout, boom, you're in. And then you're out 2 days or 2 weeks later. A week and a half, 2 weeks later, it takes out your stop. You just get out, no questions asked. Okay? And if you held on to it, you would have gone through some considerable pain. Now, right now, it's at 116.91. It came actually all the way back up in here. I'm not owning this stock anymore. I sold it on this move down. I sold out. Okay? But again, I had bought it earlier, and overall, I was profitable on my shares. But if you initiated an entry here, okay, and I bought more here, okay, take your stop. Get out. Okay, UTX, that was an example of one where the stop saves your arse. Yelp. Okay, I talked about how this thing looks so great to the short side, right? I talked about it here in July. I said, look, big volume, big red moves here. You got kind of a tilted gangsta lean right, head and shoulders. Okay, it broke the line. Looking for a pullback, getting short on the declining moving average right here. And I said, stop right above. And boom. Sure enough, the thing just exploded to the upside. So you got to take your stops. If you didn't, you'd be in pain. Okay, you'd be in you'd still be hurting. This thing could still go higher. I'm not shorting the stock now. When I got in short, I got out on the stop, and that's it. No questions asked. And right now, it looks actually more like a long setup here. Okay, but no setup. It's kind of a wandering here. We need a base. We need a setup. But right now, I'm leaning more to the long side on Yelp in general. But this is an example of a short I had mentioned that did not work. Last one I talked about was the lowest trade was 3D. I talked about this retracement here to the 18, which was at minor support, right? So here's where I was talking about the video. I said, look, it's a lowest trade. You got a tight stop, 50-cent stop. The entry was 18.25. You go back to the video, and I talked about the stop being about 17.75. Okay, right in that area, 50 cents. I said, take a shot at it. I did. Rising moving average, big volume green bar here. Okay, retracement back down to support. Okay, I'm in, and then out within a couple days. And if I didn't take my stop, right? Holy crap! Look at this thing. It's at I think it's at $8 a share now. $8.87 a share. This is why you've got. I hope this paints the picture as to why it's so important to take stops. Because if you're belligerent and stubborn, you'll end up in the poorhouse. Take your stops. Suck up your pride. Don't worry about it. Just take your loss. Okay, your pre-established loss, and get out of Dodge. and don't ride this thing down. Now it's actually looking climactic, and I actually would think about buying it here, but I'm not at this point. There's so much other better stuff to buy. I wouldn't waste my time with this unless I absolutely had to. But we make this is a situation like GE, where you've got possible drain out here. But this thing, if this moving average catches up and they can't get no bounce, this thing can go lower. So do not be surprised if it goes lower. And like I said, there's so many other better things to be buying than something that's getting its rear end taken to the shed. All right, so let's talk about a few ideas here real quick because I know you guys want to make some money. Here's some ideas that I'm considering. I'm either buying, I've bought shares, I own some of these already, I'm looking to buy some more of these shares, or I don't own them and I'm going to buy them. Okay, one of those three scenarios. WPM. This thing is just building up potential. It's like a rubber band is getting pulled back here, getting ready for an explosion. So weekly chart, moving average is catching up here. It came down hard. It can't go lower. It's just kind of wedging, and it's looking like it just really wants to explode higher. Okay, so wheat and precious metals, I'm looking at this thing as a beautiful buy. Okay, typically over here around 22 is the high of this one. You can see if you draw a line right here, it's actually broken that. So it depends on how aggressive you want to be. But watching this one for a move higher, WPM. Franco-Nevada, if you're looking in the mining space, this is one, it's just a lot stronger than a lot of the other ones in general. So if you look at FNV here, this thing's on highs. I'm watching for a setup here. You got to see, you can actually see on the daily chart here to the left, cup, power move up, handle forming, volume's pretty light, watching for a breakout above this high, okay? Above this high, and your stock can be below these lows or slightly lower, and the moving average is catching up to it. Watching FNV for a break to the higher side. Gold is another one, okay? Drain out here on earnings, I believe, off this new high, and look, it couldn't go lower and establish a new low on the weekly chart. You've got higher lows, right? Higher pivots, 1, 2, 3, each one's higher. This one, drastic move down in earnings, couldn't break 90 really by much, is back up, okay? Looking good. Watching this one to the high side as well on the GOLD. STLD here looking great. You'll see the weekly chart really kind of smooths. Well, it doesn't smooth thing out. This thing is just hideous looking from a bar by bar perspective. Left, red, green, red, green, red, green, red, green. It's very Christmassy actually. Big move up, low, lower high, lower low, lower high, equal low, higher high, equal low, higher high even more, testing this high. I think this thing looks like it wants to go higher. Okay. In fact, so much so that I bought into this right here on this pullback. Okay. So I'm in this thing and looking to add to the position if it gets up to 40 and sets up. Right now I bought a half position here. Okay. Stop. Ultimate stop is under the 32 mark. So 31 and change is the stop under this base where it's time to just throw your hands up, take your money and run. If you want a tighter stop, you can use this low here. Which is 35.80, so somewhere below 35.80 is a stop, and your entry is over the high, which was 37.60. Okay, so it's still in that buy range. In fact, it's lower than where I bought it at this point. Again, bought a half position, looking to add to the position if it gets up here or some other thing. But I think this thing looks higher. I think it looks really good to the top side. Another one I talked about in my last video was Oracle. Big power move up here. And then I was talking about how I was finding support here in the 48 range. Okay, it came down to 48, then came up and made a new high here, and then you can see here on the daily it came down hard, which is indicated here on the weekly chart, and it's holding this area. So if you like to buy this thing and you think the stock's going to go higher with this setup, I mean you've got kind of a pullback here. You could buy over the high of 49.16, and I'd put your stop under 47 and a half. Okay, that's where the support is. If it falls below that, then I'd be running. I'd be taking my shares, taking my stop and getting out. But this thing right now is holding, so it's a low risk trade. There's not a lot of space in there. It's pretty tight. Obviously, I never use on my swing trades to the exact penny on my stops. Give it some room. So if the low is 47.64, you could use 47.50. You could use 47. You could use 47 and a quarter. Somewhere below that. And you do your own advanced mathematical calculations based on the squirreliness of the chart and the bars and the day-to-day is basically how I do it. But I would give it some space. Let's just say that would be my suggestion to you. Don't ever use the exact penny because you'll get shaken a lot. From my experience, I noticed A lot of those stops within pennies or dimes will get taken out before they run back in your favor. Another couple ideas I'm going to give you. Alcoa, you've got a weekly chart here. It's made a high. Your minor support, it went up to 50. It's pulled back here nicely to the rising moving average. Okay, it's setting up. It's got a couple of bottoming tails here. It looks like it's trying to hold this 40 area. You can look to buy it long over if it takes out the high of this candle. And your stop would definitely be around the $40 area. Okay, put your stop in there. Now that is minor support, so if you want to give a little bit more space, give it another buck, you can. Again, to your plan. But this thing looks like a great idea to the long side as well, and I'll be stocking this one. Okay, now here's another one. This is a real thin stock. So, if you are interested in playing something like this, do not. My suggestion, I mean, you obviously got to follow your own plan, but I would not be suggesting you buy a ton of shares. I mean, look at it. It did 36,000 shares in its last session. But the monthly chart here, this thing has come down and has really settled in a really strong base here. Now, granted, a buck 40, a buck 50 from 205, that's a pretty big percentage move. Okay, but I've built a position in there. I'm looking to buy on a breakout above the 220, 225 mark. You can see the high of this candle here is 225. Okay, so going back to the weekly chart, let me move this monthly out of the way. You'll see the volume. It's flagging here and again, these thinner stocks, they will be sloppy. Look at how sloppy this is. So based on the fact that it's thin and it's sloppy, again, I'll repeat myself here. I would not be buying a crap load of shares. Even though it's $2 a share, you can pick 1,000 shares up for $2,000, right? Plus change. But don't make that. My suggestion is you don't make that as your ruling. Make as your deciding factor, right? Around what to buy. Buy it based on liquidity. Okay, but I think this thing's got higher. It looks higher. Technically, it looks higher. I think a $3 move to $3 to $3.50 would be my target. And again, like I said, building position here. Ultimately, looking for a break above 220 for this thing to get in. But again, small position. Would not go buck wild on my shares on this thing because it is thin. PSX. This one's a little bit. It's very strong. You'll see here you've got a little cup and handle forming here, possibly another wave, another higher low, maybe a setup up here. You'll see here on the grander scale, on the weekly chart, a larger cup, no handle unless it was a low handle here, and this nice break, and it's holding and flagging, creating this kind of a wedge triangle type situation. We got higher lows and equal highs. You look for a break above these equal highs with a stop under the highest pivot or the most recent pivot low would be my suggestion. But watching PSX as a long idea. Then I got a couple other ones here. T-Tech, this one's breaking out here higher, above 50. Okay, looks great, looks higher. ACM. It's another one that's a little bit more weak and it's sloppy off this big move. So your stop's going to be large. So it doesn't have that really good reward to risk factor I talked about. But I'm watching this for a setup with a tighter stop that's more reasonable. Up at the $37 to $38 range if we can set up around there. So I'm watching ACM also as a possible long. And last but not least, CHRW here. A very nice move. A very white knuckle move down here. Drain out, move right back up on the right side. See how it's kind of setting up here a base handle type of situation. Watch this. I'd love to see probably another couple weeks and then a breakout above these highs. So you're looking at an entry over 81.35 and a stop around 77.50. Okay, so and this thing shows it can move. But CHRW is another one I think that's worth watching to the long side. JB Hunt is another one here. You can see it's pulled back. It actually made new highs. It's pulled back here to minor support. It's got a bottoming tail and a higher low. Okay, you could actually buy it here right now around 104 to 105 over these highs. And your stop could be right at this low, 100 and change, $100.50 or about 100 bucks. Okay, and you're looking for another move higher. JB Hunt, you get the rising moving average, uptrending, looks strong to the top side. Okay, so with that, I want to thank you for watching this video. If you have any questions, hit me up, tom@tomwillardtrading.com, or just respond and post to the video. Let me know if you liked it. Let me know, give me comments if you got other things you want to see. But at this point, I just like sharing ideas, things that I'm thinking about trading. Or am trading, and then some general market commentary and some lessons on things like taking the stops, which will save your rear end, as I just showed you from the last video to this video, as well as riding out profits on those home builders, like I mentioned in the last video. The IGT, just gorgeous runs, fantastic runs on those. Intel, good Lord, what a run on that one. So anyway, hope you guys are enjoying this market. It's been great. It's been an amazing market. And again, continue to party with the market, but have stops. Do not be holding the bag, okay? Continue. Don't be afraid. Don't start shorting everything, thinking it's time for it to come down. I know a lot of people do that. The best thing to do is go with the flow. Right now it's flowing to the long side. Stay long, but have stops. And when the stops come, don't question. Take your stops. Get out of Dodge. Then reassess. Buy back in if you need to, or hold on. Or maybe the next time I do a video, I'll start talking about shorting the market like crazy. And the thing is, if you can go both ways, then it doesn't really matter. The market, can go as long as it's moving. You can make money. Obviously, the upside party is a lot more fun than the downside. But we'll look and see, and we'll just take it as the market gives it to us because we can't control it. You just got to flow with it, read it to the best of your capability, and that's why I find technical analysis to be the best way to make those assessments and make those smart decisions from a purchasing point, a profit-taking point, and a loss absorbing point, or a place to get out and then reassess and keep your losses small. Okay? All right, guys. Have a great holiday season. If I don't talk to you prior to New Year, again, Tom at TomWillardTrading.com.